What's up, everybody? I'm James, here with my 1954 Desoto Firedome custom build. Some of you may know me, some of you may not, but either way, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. This is my first video. I wanted to get started doing these on a regular basis to kind of walk you through the process on my car, what I've done to it, what I'm going to do to it, how I do things, why I do it the way I do it, and some of the products that I use, give some product reviews, just to show people what works, what don't work, why and why not. Just to kind of maybe help somebody out down the road that are struggling with products, want to know more about products, want to know what some people are using. So I thought maybe I would help somebody out a little bit down the road and maybe help myself out a little bit too. But so I'm here today. I want to talk a little bit about what I'm about to do with my deck lid. I've got prepped out, ready to primer. I'll go back in some other videos to show you more on the actual car itself, what I've done, and things that worked, things that didn't work, what I've had to change. And but for the most part, it's kind of went along with the way I designed it from the get-go. I've had this thing built in my head the day that I got it, and so far I haven't changed a whole lot, but I've had to change a few things because being a very rare car and no parts available, I've had to, obviously build my own parts, sheet metal work, and just kind of go with the flow and wing it on my own. So here's the start of a great journey with everybody to follow along and see what I'm doing, and hope everybody enjoys what I got going on, and let's see what I got. I'm going to turn this camera around and show you what I got on this deck lid. So what I've done, I've epoxy primered this deck lid, fixed all the imperfections in the metal, and sealed it all, got it corrosion resistant, got it all prepped out. I've just past day or so, I've hand sanded everything. It's been seam sealed, so now it is been epoxy primered again. All the bare metal has been epoxy primered. Got it ready for 2K urethane primer. What I'm going to do is all the inserts here is all going to be covered with custom inserts that I'll hand make, where you're not going to see most of this stuff. It'll be painted body color, but the inserts will be a little bit different, obviously. But just want to show you kind of what I've got going on. Some work that went into this thing that I'll go into in a later video. Some extensive metal work, some metal shaping, things like that to actually make it fit proper to the car. Obviously, if you've ever worked on anything, this old 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, a lot of the panels never fit from the factory. That really wasn't the case that I was running into. Things were completely out of whack for what I wanted on this car, and I had to do some extensive work and manipulation to the metal to get it to fit the way I wanted it to fit. But like I said, I'll go into that at a later date. But things are looking good. I'm not super concerned about how everything's looking down in here. I'm obviously wanting to get it as best I can, but like I mentioned, this is all going to be covered. This is not going to be seen. There will be custom inlays in these insert pieces here. But what I like to do if I'm going to do some heavy primering, a lot of guys will stick tape down in here. I like to stick old bolts down in here. That way you don't get primer down in the threads. You don't have to clean the threads out. But that's always a good idea to save yourself some time and some work to get these threads covered so you don't have to worry about any primer down in those. But what I'm going to show you is the products that I'm going to be using for this process. What I've done is the dark gray is an epoxy that I'm letting flash, that I'll primer right over top of. It's flashed off now probably about an hour or so. Okay, so the dark primer that you saw on the deck lid is Rep 2K Epoxy Primer. This stuff is very easy to use, very effective. It is a 2K epoxy. You spray it on. You're not looking for build, you're looking for coverage. There's no activation to it. You spray it, let it flash off about 5 minutes, put another coat on, and you let that go. And I can primer right over top of that in an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on environment. I'm letting it sit a little bit longer. But what this is doing is it's treating that bare metal. So now you have corrosion protection and top quality adhesion to the metal whenever you put your next product over top of it, which is going to be my go-to primer, Tamco 5310. They've got 5310, 5311, and 5312. The difference is the colors. I usually start out with the 5310, which is the gray primer. And then on my last round of primering, I'll switch to the white primer to use as my base for my body color to go down. I'll basically be using it as a sealer. But for today's project, and until I get to that step, I'm using 5310. This product does have rust inhibitors in it, which is really nice when you've got a little bit of surface rust that you don't want to take the chance of sandblasting and warping metal. This is the go-to for that. So this is an extremely high build primer. Lays out like butter, sands like butter. Very, very easy to use. I've used everything pretty much there is to use over the years, building cars, painting cars, from DuPont to PPG to RM. I've used about all of them. But to be honest with you, this is the next thing close to a polyester primer build without going to polyester primer. This is a urethane base, but it builds like polyester. And it does cure like your standard urethane, not like your polyester, which technically doesn't actually cure, it dries. So this is my go-to. If you're looking for an extremely good primer, I highly recommend this. This is, like I said, this is my go-to. I've been using it for quite a while now, and I've done several cars with it, and I will continue to use it down the road as well. But what I'm shooting this out of is my TSS, the spray source, EcoHSE. Got this gun from my guy Tommy at the spray source. Phenomenal gun. Sprays like butter. Lays out super nice. It's got right now this has my 2.2 tip in it. I've also got the 2.0 tip and the 2.5, which I highly recommend. Either the 2.2 or the 2.5 if you want to spray the Tamco 5310 as a high build primer. Once you want to switch over and lay it out as a sealer, maybe drop down to a 1.8 or even a 1.4 you can spray it with, but you're going to have to over reduce it. I'll be reducing this, I'll be mixing this primer today 4:1 to 25%. If you want to lay it out as a sealer, you can mix it 2:1 to 1, possibly up to 4:1 to 2, depending on what you're trying to do with it. But this is my setup. This is what I use. This is my go-to. Been extremely happy with all this products. We'll continue to use them. So if you got any questions, comment on it. Ask me questions. I'll be happy to answer anything you got. I can send you to the proper place to get all this stuff. And they help me out. Hopefully they can possibly help you out as well. But that's all I've got for today. So thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell your friends, and stay tuned.